think of this. If you're thinking of the healthcare sector, wouldn't it pay to hear somebody who manages multiple $billion focused on that one space, and that is healthcare? And that's what Dr. Amit Varma does. He's managing partner at Quadria Capital in Johnson right now for his thoughts on how he anticipates 2026 to shape up after maybe what's not been as turbulent a year for healthcare versus maybe Indian markets. Dr. Varma, thank you so much for taking the time out and really appreciate you talking to us today. How would you think of what 2025 has thrown up for the healthcare space, and what does that mean for the next 12 months, 18 months, or 24 months?
Neeraj, always a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you so much for having me. I continue with my much completed statement always that I'm bullish on healthcare. I continue to believe for the short to medium term, there will be no major trials and tribulations that will happen when it comes to healthcare. Quite frankly, our portfolio companies continue to grow 15 to 20% revenue CAGR year on year, and the EBITDA margins continue to be constant. So barring the slight tribulations that we had when the tariffs were announced, there has been no real change in the way we look at healthcare. And the reason for that continues to be the same, right? Again, scarcity, not enough GDP dollars, not enough infrastructure, and the need for healthcare continues to grow with populations our size.
Okay. Now, would this, I mean, there are some sectors which would probably be tariff proof, assuming that tariffs stay here, even if they are, I mean, from an India perspective, maybe changed a little bit. But for the world at large, even if the tariffs are here to stay, would healthcare as a space be, how do I say, for lack of a better word, tariff proof?
There's nothing which is formally tariff proof, but there are some which are less tariff affected. So let me explain it. Healthcare, a lot of what we do is local. So it is creating a business for the local market. So that is tariff averse. And then there's a lot of what we do is make in India for rest of the world. And fortunately, at this point of time, pharma is out of that ambit. And that's because of the certain dynamic that regardless of all the rhetoric that goes around, it is impossible and impractical to move supply chains overnight. It's a 3 to 5 year process at best. And that is why we continue to believe that it should not affect the core businesses of what we do, especially in pharma and MedTech.
Okay. Okay. Just trying to draw a bit of an attention to what's happening globally, and then drawing it back to an inference on India. Dr. Varma, the space seems to have become fairly large and well established, and the markets seem to be giving a lot of rewards, both on the private side as well as on the public side, to things which are branded in India. And you were amongst the first ones 3 years ago to tell me that, Neeraj, Bombay may be an exception where people are following doctors, but otherwise people follow branded hospitals, right? It happens in drugs all through in India. It's happening in hospitals. It's happening in diagnostic centers as well. Do you think this theme will become even stronger over the course of the next few years?
I have absolutely no doubt that this is going to get personified. And the reason for that is going to become standardization in every aspect, whether it is healthcare delivery, it is pharma, it is diagnostics, you name it. Number two, at the end of the day, somebody has to pay for the services. And as insurance, both public and private, continue to grow, there is going to be impetus to start to deliver patients on where they should be going, decided by somebody else rather than the patient's choice. And lastly, remember, I put everything together. Hospitals in the branded space, diagnostics in the branded space, they still do not come to 10% of the market. So the headroom for growth is enormous. So I do not see any changes taking place in this mantra going forward, at least for the next decade.
Okay. Well, another catalyst for the space could well be the US BioSecure Act, right, which will open doors for companies from India, Europe, and other nations to maybe gain a stronger foothold in the US, even with the US policy being what it is. Now, before I ask Dr. Varma about this, Varsha Johnson, because this news has been formally signed today, I believe. Varsha, fill us in.
Yes, thank you so much for that. So yes, the BioSecure Act, rather Trump has finally signed the National Defense Authorization Act, and BioSecure is a part of that act. Now, why this is important? Because now US will shift all the projects from China to India, and Indian CDMO companies will be benefited from this. And this is the reason, if you see, all the CDMO companies are buzzing to this, the likes of Divi's Lab, Piramal Pharma, Laurus Lab, Sai Life Sciences, and all the CDMO companies are actually buzzing, because now the projects will move from, because BioSecure Act, what essentially does is US will not do business with certain Chinese companies, and all these projects will flow from China to India, and hence all the CDMO companies are buzzing because of the Trump signing this act.
Okay, thanks for that, Varsha. There's also the export data, which was strong today. But Dr. Varma, much spoken about the BioSecure Act, then went into a bit of a freezer, and there's revived again, signed now. How important?
Very important, but cautious optimism. At the end of the day, again, we are dealing with life and death. Again, we are dealing with a very regulated industry. And again, moving supply chains takes time and vision. In all the enthusiasm I have on China plus one, India is going to be the biggest beneficiary, but we need to play it right. So it's not a momentum play. We need to now turn around, be able to prove that we are willing to take that responsibility. This is an inflection point for our industry, and I genuinely believe that the stalwarts and the new companies that we have here have this great opportunity now to go ahead with it. I do want to caution, however, that we seem to be losing out on the biotech space and R&D and innovation, where China has leapfrogged us over the past couple of years. And I would strongly urge the industry, and I'm part of the same industry, is that we need to go back to our grassroots and focus again and start to spend a bit more money on R&D innovation, especially in biotech.
Is that not happening, sir?
Not enough, Neeraj, is the right answer. There's a lot to be done. And if I look at how China biotech has scaled up, and more importantly, the quality of their innovation and R&D, it is years ahead.
Would it require state support of any fashion, or do you believe the corporate balance sheets are strong enough to do it on their own?
I think it's everything in India requires public and private working together. It's never going to be done by one arm over the other. I do believe, however, that the private balance sheets can do a bit more to accelerate this trend.
I hope they are listening. Just one quick follow-up, Dr. Varma, on this very subject, but just reverting back to the one thing that you mentioned, that you are constructive on India plus China, but there needs to be a show of evidence, if you will, for this thing as well. That, I presume, is entirely the private sector job, right? That they are probably not doing enough, and they will need to do more in order to take advantage of the US BioSecure Act opportunity of China plus one.
As I said, it's an inflection point. Grab the bull by its horns. This is our moment. The next 3 years can define what we do with Indian healthcare, especially for supplying the world.
Okay, and Dr. Varma, just one more insight, if you will. For long, it's always spoken about how much export happens in the US with reason. Largest market, so on and so forth. But we know that Europe is aging at a rapid pace. In a lot of Asian countries as well, they are not able to produce enough babies, and the average age is really expanding, right? Is there a larger market opening up outside the US, if not immediately, then over the next 5 years? And can Indian companies take advantage of that?
I'm on record saying this, that one day we will look back and we will thank the Trump tariffs for having changed the way we've been supplying markets. There is a massive rest of the world beyond EU. Look at Japan, look at Korea, look at Australia. There is so much to be done. We got a bit lazy because it's easier to just supply the US with the profit margins and the ease of selling. But clearly the tariffs have shown us that there is a massive under-penetrated market that we need to keep looking forward to.
Got it. And Dr. Varma, for the benefit of the viewers who are tuned in right now, have gotten this amazing intellectual masterpiece from you, also want to know what is it that you like per se within this Indian healthcare ecosystem. Naturally, you do private and public both, but people can take a leaf out of what looks good, right? So is it hospitals? Is it diagnostics? Is it US supplying companies? Is it domestic CDMOs?
Yeah.
Is it global CDMOs? What do you like?
4 themes. We like single specialty hospital place. We like the CDMO, CRDMO space. We like MedTech, which is replacing a lot of imports, a lot of local indigenization. And we like healthcare plays where you can create value or optimization, such as the revenue cycle management type of companies, which are providing value accretive services to the world. 4 themes.
4 themes, and MedTech, very interesting. So much of imports into India. I mean, just that import substitution could do wonders as well. Great.
Correct.
Dr. Varma, so good talking to you as always. Thank you so much for being with us for a sneak peek into what 2026 and 27 could look like, and for giving some amazing nuggets, including the one that I like the most, that we will thank Trump tariffs for what will happen in healthcare in India and maybe Asia. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Neeraj.
All right, and wishing you a great end of the year and 2026.